Welcome to the Sporting Mindset Show. I'm your host, Dwayne Nesta. On today's episode, I'm blown away with the psychological maturity of 16-year-old Cienna Tinkler. Cienna had an outstanding National Junior Track Cycling Championships earlier this year, bringing home gold in the 500-metre time trial, the sprint, the keirin, the individual pursuit and team sprint, as well as silver in the scratch race. It's not the achievements, though, that are truly amazing. It is the mental fortitude and psychological maturity she has. This is a fantastic chat. Enjoy. Cienna, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And nicknames, do you have any?
Yes, I do. I have quite a few. They're based off my last name, Tinkler. I have Tinks, Tinkerbell, Twinkletoes, Stinkler, lots of combinations of different nicknames.
Has that had an impact on your personality, do you think?
I think it has. I think it keeps everything lighthearted, and it just reminds me not to take everything so seriously all the time. So I own the nicknames, that's for sure. Yeah, it's really cool because different people from school, even track, cycling, everyone's just made up different names from my nickname. So, yeah, definitely.
And I love it how you said you own it, which I think reflects the fun part of it. You want to be a part of those nicknames and that they create that fun element to you. Is having fun with everything you do part of your personality?
Yes, definitely. I always love to have a good time. I enjoy cycling, especially with my friends. So just keeping it fun, enjoyable is just, it's a part of me.
And so do you think that reflects in your attitude to cycling, that you don't get too overawed by the situation and put too much pressure on you because it is just about having fun and enjoying yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I like to switch it up around. So when I'm saying I'm feeling nervous, I'd like to say I feel excited, just because it gives a more positive approach to each thing, especially even when the efforts are hard and I hate it. In reality, I just make sure I always turn it around so that I'm enjoying the process as much as competing and everything.
Who's given you that influence? Because it sounds like you've had some sort of influence there to say, I'm not nervous or I'm not anxious because of nerves. I'm excited. To me, that's the attitude of an old head. So you've obviously got someone in your corner who's giving you some really good advice. Who is that?
That would definitely be my mum. She definitely influences me to think like that a lot more. She watches lots of podcasts, so she's always showing me how I should be approaching each thing. I shouldn't be approaching it with negativity. It's always turn it around into something positive. So she's definitely the person that influences me to approach things like that.
By the sounds of it, she's the number one fan in the supporters club.
Yeah.
Do you have a broad network of support which you gain confidence from?
Yes, I do. I have lots of people from school who love to see my progress, who support me there. I have the people from track and from road cycling. Everyone's like-minded, so they all like to see how I go and my progression. Even the bike shop, they're my number one supporters for sure. They're always in my corner helping me out. Yeah, it's really good how I have such a big support network, as it keeps the process more enjoyable.
And so do you actually feel a bit of pressure to perform for those people because they give you so much support?
I do. At some times it's like, well, I need to perform well at this because so many people have put in hard work and they've sacrificed a lot for me. So at times, especially nationals, I get lots of messages of encouragement. So when I'm out on the track, it's mainly for me. I want to do well for myself, but it's also spreading it out with everyone who supports me. I want to do well for them and I want to give back to them with all the sacrifice that they've made.
How do you deal with that little bit of extra pressure, the pressure that you're feeling because of that? Do you have specific strategies?
I wouldn't say I have specific strategies. I think it is just the way I turn it around with I get to compete, I get to do this. It's a privilege that I'm able to compete at such a high level. So I think by seeing it in that light, it takes some of the pressure off, because not everyone gets to go to nationals, not everyone gets to travel the world with my sport. So I think just by turning it around and just being grateful for everything takes a bit of the pressure off. But yeah, just turning it into a positive note will definitely help me handle the pressure a lot better.
So I dare say when you're having those moments of, oh, I really don't want to do this, this is a bad day, bad weather outside, and I've got to go for a road ride. Does that give you some motivation?
Yeah, it does, definitely. I like to see the bigger picture of things. So I know the weather isn't bad forever. I can always go into the trainer if the weather's bad, but I always like to make sure I get the session done, as it does add up to the bigger picture. And I think having the motivation to do well for others will definitely help lift my mood a lot more, especially on those days that I struggle to get out of bed on the early mornings when it's cold. Yeah, it's definitely plays into a part of that.
In terms of the particular training sessions, which are the ones that are hard to get up for? Is it the gym sessions? Is it the long road rides? Is it the sessions on the track that are really hard?
I think it's the long road rides when it's cold, because I have to put so many layers on, my hands are freezing, my feet are numb, my legs are cold. It's a lot harder to do efforts out on the road when your legs are numb. So I think those sessions are definitely the hardest part. I love going to the track even when it's cold, but I think having such a good community down there definitely helps the session be a bit more enjoyable. Gym, I always enjoy going to the gym. I ride to the gym because it's only 8 minutes down the road. So my coaches and the friends that I have there definitely make going to the gym, like, it's something I look forward to getting up in the morning to go to. But definitely the road rides when it's cold and it's wet, and I don't want to do it, but I always make sure I get it done, because I feel a lot better for myself after I complete it.
Is there any element of fear in terms of going for a ride road early in the morning, wet roads? Is there an element of fear, or have you just got a confidence in your ability on the bike?
I do have lots of confidence with my skills on the bike, but I think the fear comes more from other people on the road, as it's only 10 minutes to ride to the freeway path from my house, but it's a pretty fast road. So, especially in the morning when the sun's still coming up, there is a bit of, oh, I've got to be careful. But other than that, I think, as I've been riding for 2 years now, so I've had lots of experience. I've gained lots of knowledge of how to treat the roads and how to keep myself safe and others as well.
It sounds like you've got a really responsible head on your shoulders. So you're probably a hell of a lot further along the track than a lot of us people that we tend to come across. In terms of, you talked about the gym and the motivation to go to the gym, and obviously is there an element of that social aspect to being in the gym when you're there?
Yeah, definitely. The people that are there, I go to PRAS, which is Peel Region Academy of Sport. So it's not a public gym, it's a gym for the athletes and for the members of Peel Thunder. So having those like-minded athletes there definitely just makes the whole thing a lot more fun. And I have a few cyclists that are there as well. So it's always good to see my friends at training. And I think just getting up in the morning and getting to see them is definitely a good element in the process.
How do you balance that social aspect and then the performance side? Because obviously you've got a job to do in the gym, and that's to get bigger and stronger. So how do you balance that social aspect with the performance?
Well, it's a bit hard for me as I like to talk a lot. So sometimes I have Chris in my ear saying, "Cienna, just get it done, just get it done." But I think balancing the difference of performing and still having fun is quite easy, as I enjoy everything. So I think even performing, it's just fun for me to perform, and I love going to nationals. I love getting to see how far I can push myself in a race, seeing all the work that's been done, and then coming down from the track and everyone congratulating you, vice versa, I congratulate them. It's really cool how we have everything in common. So when I'm performing and when I'm nervous, I think it's better because I'm with other people other than by myself. Like in the pool, for example, you're in your own head for the whole time. You can't hear anything. Whereas on the track, I can hear people yelling, "Go Cienna, go Cienna." I can hear the encouragement. So I think performing is definitely on the same wavelengths as having fun with my friends, for sure.
You mentioned Chris there saying, just get it done, get it done. Is there, from a coaching point of view, so you've got Peter as your individual coach, you get through the track academy, you get coaching there, and you've got Chris at the Academy of Sport. Do you feel like the coaches understand your personality and understand that element of fun and enjoyment is almost like a fuel for you, and that they are able then to take that into account when you're training?
Yeah, I definitely do think that. And especially since they have their experiences of their own. So they know that to be successful in your sport, you have to enjoy the process. And with Peter being an Olympic gold medalist, he knows that the hours that you put on the bike is grueling and will definitely affect you mentally in some ways. So I think him allowing me to have the balance of having fun but then also knowing when to pull away and be more serious is definitely a positive side of having a coach with so much experience. And Chris, he has lots of knowledge of how to support each athlete, and he always makes the hard gym sessions, he makes them enjoyable. So I think the coaches that I have understand that in order to be successful, you need to enjoy the process.
So when you might be doing a really big, heavy, hard set in the gym, or you might have a session on the track, which you have to bury yourself in it. What are the things that you're actually saying to yourself in that moment? When it gets really tough, what are you saying in your own head?
Oh, I have a few things. A few of them is just imagining myself at the Olympics and imagining that that effort is the final of an individual pursuit or is a final for a scratch race. So I try to visualize myself on the track at that big competition, which it does help me push myself because I want the gold medal. So I want to make sure that I'm going as hard as I can. I like to see how far I can push myself. So just telling myself, okay, keep going, you've done this before, you can do this effort, just keep going, keep going, keep going. I'm an endurance rider after all, so I should be able to keep going. I think having that positive talk in my head is always something that helps me get through the session, especially if it's a hard one. Also having, especially in the gym, when I'm surrounded by my friends, having them, if they can see me doing a really big squat, they encourage me. They say, "You got this, Cienna." I think that also just helps me refocus of what I'm doing, and just knowing that I'm just backing myself up, especially on the ergo sessions when I'm on the trainer and I'm by myself. I don't have anyone around me. Just making sure I'm always thinking positively, because as soon as a negative thought comes into your head, you just go down a spiral, and just controlling your breathing as well.
There's two things there I just want to touch on. The breathing we'll get to, but I just want to say, when you talked about that spiral, have you had an instance where you've noticed that you have spiraled? And if you can remember that instance, was there something that pulled you back out of it?
Well, when I was doing an FTP test a few years ago with my coach, which is, what is it? Functional threshold power. So the power that you can hold for 20 minutes.
Anyone who knows anything about that would understand that that's not comfortable.
It's not at all. I was doing it at Peter's house, and I could feel like I was moving up in the power. I could feel myself losing breath really fast because I wasn't taking deep enough breaths. So I was, what do they call it? I think it's like the spiral of death or something, where when you can't push the power, you just slowly, your cadence just drops and then you just can't go anymore. So, I mean, I wasn't getting to that point, but I was definitely losing focus, and having Peter there noticing that and just encouraging me, refocus, focus on your breathing for one. It definitely just helps me recenter myself and focus on what I'm doing. And I got a pretty good power output for that session. So having him there was definitely a positive thing, especially in those hard sessions.
And then the breathing side of it, obviously that was functional breathing during an effort. That do you actually use breathing as a type of mindfulness or meditation tool as well when you need to bring yourself back to the moment?
Yes, especially for my individual events at nationals. When I'm racing the clock more than racing other people, I use when I can see myself fidgeting with stuff or maybe my legs bouncing a bit, I recenter and just focus on my breathing because that's something I can control. And even during a race, when it's a hard race, I focus on my breathing because, you know, getting oxygen into your lungs will help your muscles and it'll help you go faster. Using it before I race is something that helps me when I'm out on the track.
So in terms of nationals earlier in the year, in the lead up to that, were there specific strategies you used for preparation? So was there anything that you almost relied on to prepare as best you could for the nationals?
I think visualizing my races was definitely something that I relied on a lot, as pretty much every single night for a few months before the lead up, I would imagine myself riding my individual pursuit and breaking the national record, which was my ultimate goal for that competition. And I think just the repetitiveness and making my brain believe that I can achieve that was definitely something that I relied on leading up to the race, because once I was there, it was just like it was something that I do every day because I had gone through it in my head countless times. And also just mentally preparing by accepting that the nerves are normal, because being nervous, it just means that you care. And the goal for me wasn't to get rid of the nerves, it was just to learn how to channel them and perform despite having those nerves. So with my psychology sessions at Prass with Sandy, he would teach me how to channel the nerves. So I had a few sessions leading up to nationals with him, and those definitely helped a lot, especially with my confidence, just knowing that I can compete at such a high level, and it just definitely helped altogether.
Relatively speaking, it's quite a unique situation where you spoke about racing against the clock because you're not shoulder to shoulder in some of these events with other athletes. So how does that play on the mind where you're going, you know what, it actually doesn't matter about anything else except for me and that little digital clock that's sitting there on the side telling me where I should be or shouldn't be?
I mean, I feel like in some ways it's harder than actually racing people, like actually racing the riders, because it's what you can do. It's not what, you know, you're able to go around that someone in the last bend. It's the clock doesn't lie, as they say. So racing the clock is definitely a different dynamic to racing the girls. And I think I handle that better than I do racing girls, because the race that I specialize in is an individual pursuit where I am racing the clock. So I get used to it after a while, and that's pretty much all I think of. I have a goal that I want to set out to ride, and, you know, in some ways, the clock is my best friend. So,
Which is a nice way to look at it, isn't it?
it really is, definitely.
You don't want it to be your enemy.
No, that's definitely not a national competition as well.
So when you're doing the individual pursuit, not knowing it myself, in experiencing that, do you go through waves within the actual race? Or is it something that you say, I've got to be rock solid, consistent here? And I'm talking it from a mental point of view.
Yes, the waves are real in an individual pursuit. I haven't raced an under 19 individual pursuit yet, which is 12 laps, so 3 kilometers. The most that I've raced is 8 laps, so only 2 kilometers, but 8 laps is a long time when you're out there by yourself. The first few laps, if you have a good warm up, then your legs will feel really good in the first few laps. If you don't have a very good warm up, then you will definitely feel it in the second lap. But mentally, once I get going, it's like, okay, you're in the zone. You've done this countless times. I know what to do. to perform well, and I know how to pace myself. So, say the first kilometer in, having my coach on the side yelling the lap counts at me is also a good way to mentally keep myself composed, because he wouldn't be yelling negative things. He'd be yelling good job or hold or lift. So first few laps of an IP is definitely the easiest mentally, because you do feel fresh 90% of the time. But then as the race goes on and you can't really control the breathing, or I can't. I can control my breathing, but it's not something that I focus on during that race. But you're definitely got to really dig deep. It's even better when you can see the rider in front of you. If you're catching the rider, it gives you a little bit of a push mentally. And it's like, okay, cool, I can see this rider. I have a target to chase now. So in my head, I'm always just saying, okay, keep this cadence. You've got this. See what Peter says when you come around. If he says to lift, you just got to dig. If he says to hold, it's hold. You're like, you're good. Okay, you're good. I never ever think negatively during the race, because as soon as I think negatively, I can feel my legs just drop. I can feel them become heavy. And I've experienced that during an effort in training. Once, as soon as I say, oh, gosh, this is hard, I can't do this, then I go downhill. So having the experience in training definitely helped me mentally when it did come to the day of racing. And luckily I felt really, really good in that race. So it was quite an easy race to get through mentally, as I had so much positive feedback from Peter on the side. I knew I was good, and I caught the girl in the end. So that whole race, it was just, okay, you got this, keep going. And it was a fun race as well, because I had worked so hard towards it, and I love riding individual pursuits, so it was fun. It was a really good race. It went really quick though.
There's obviously an element of a huge amount of trust between you and Pete, and you just trust everything he's saying on the sideline.
Yeah.
I just wanted to drop back. You mentioned that you did under 17s. You're moving now into under 19s, which is unrestricted gears. So
Yeah.
you're now in a place where I'd assume that power output is the ultimate. It's what you can actually generate on the big gears.
Yeah, for sure, because in under 17, you'll have a 7-meter rollout, which means that one complete pedal revolution of your bike, of one complete pedal revolution is the maximum that your bike can move forward. So the maximum is 7 meters. So it was all about cadence and efficiency. So the work that you did in the gym didn't really come over to the track with junior gears. But now that I've moved up to under 19s and I'm training on the big gears, it's a big confidence booster, as I can see all the work that I've been doing in the gym, all the strength training is now working on the track. It is a big shift, as you do get used to the spinning after a while, but it teaches you grit, and it's really cool when you've been training at a certain gear for so long, and then slowly over time you're able to work up, and it's like, okay, I'm going to go to a bigger gear this week, and then next week I'll go to a bigger gear. It brings a lot of confidence to myself, knowing that I'm getting stronger and I'm able to push these big gears.
From what you've said in terms of your positivity and the way you look at things, it's almost like you'd be excited to be able to get on the big gears and just see how far you can push yourself. Do you actually feel like you're anywhere near your limits yet, or do you feel like there's so much more for you?
I definitely feel like there's so much more for me. I've only been riding for 2 years and I've improved very fast, surprisingly. So to know that I've achieved what I have in such a small amount of time, it gives me so much joy to think of how I can be this time next year. And each training session, when I do move up a gear, it excites me for how much more I can achieve. And I haven't raced in the big gears yet, so I'm really excited to be able to see what gear I can push in a race, and then if that doesn't work, to reflect on that, and then I get to train to be able to push that gear. And then once I am able to push that gear, it's like, wow, I did all that training, and 5 weeks ago I couldn't do that, now I can. So I'm very excited to see how much more potential I have, and just see where this year takes me as an under 19.
You mentioned reflecting there. Is that a big part of your post-race schedule, is to sit down and go, okay, let's go through the race. What worked really well? Where was I able to make the big gains? Is
Yeah,
that a big part of your prep for the next race?
yeah, for sure.
Do you write that down, or do you sit with Peter and just chat about it, or how's that recorded?
Yeah, well, after a race, when we're home, Peter will come over and he'll have the race from the live stream on his laptop, and then he'll go through it and say, okay, you did this really well, or next time I reckon we could do this differently, or this is something you can improve on. So that's the big debrief that we do. And we haven't got to debriefing the bunch races yet because every time he comes over we get distracted with something else, so we haven't had time to do that yet. But with my individual events, we have had some debriefs, which is really cool because it gives me lots of new knowledge to transition over to my next race. And then straight after the races, we do have a small debrief, just quick feedback to tell me how I went. While I'm racing, it's all positive feedback, as sometimes when Peter says like something negative that would have happened, it lingers in my mind for a bit for the next few days, and it's not helpful when you're racing 5 days in a row at nationals. So I think he tries to keep that kind of feedback for when we actually get home, we're relaxed, everything's over, the racing's over. So having the negative feedback, I mean, it's not really negative, it's more just these are things that you can work on and these are things that we will build towards. And having those after the racing is always good because it doesn't mess with me. And I try not to linger on mistakes that I've made during a race while I'm racing, because it sets me up for a bad race the next day. But then again, if I do perform a mistake during a race, the next day I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that again. I have new experience, new knowledge on how to race this better.
Where would you say the balance sits in terms of reacting to negative feedback, whether it's from yourself or whether it's something from Pete, as opposed to the positive feedback? Are you looking to try and get 75% positive feedback continually and a little bit of negative, or are you saying 50-50, or are you saying I'm going to focus on the things I did wrong so I can get them right next time with a little bit of the positive stuff? Where do you sit there?
I think I seek out more for the stuff that I did wrong than the stuff that I did right. Because I'm such a new rider, I think I will benefit more from the things that I can improve on, because people that aren't giving me feedback from a coach's perspective are always saying, oh, you did so well in that race, you raced that so well, blah, 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 blah. So I have all of that positive feedback there from other people, from my support network. But I like to listen more to the things that I can improve on from my coach, because that's what's going to help me improve as a rider ultimately, is the mistakes that I make, which is the number one things that you can learn from. So I tend to take in the things that I can improve on more than the good things that I do, because during a race, sometimes I'm like, oh, I did that really well. So I can tell what I did well, but I can't always tell what I didn't do well. So I tend to take in the improving feedback more.
Are you a complete sponge at this stage of your career, or are there times when Pete might say something and you go, "Oh no, I don't think it was like that"? Where does the balance lie in terms of the communication between the two of you? Is it all just him saying, "Do this"?
Well, I think sometimes while I'm racing and I'm at the competition, he's like, oh, you could do better. And then I think, nah, just, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Um, in that moment, that's when it comes out. But then later that night, I reflect on what he says, and it's like, okay, yes, I see where he was coming from. I know I could have done that better. So right now, yes, I am like a sponge, taking in everything I can, because once I get to under 19s and then elites, that's when it will really matter, as the under 17 years have just pretty much all been for learning and just experiencing racing. So everything that he tells me, whether I like it or not, is something that I can gain from. So yeah, I like to listen to Peter. Sometimes he can say things that are like, no, I know better than you, but no, in the end, I don't know better than him. So I like to listen to him a lot.
It's a good story. I'm sure he would appreciate that. I could sit here and listen to you all day because this is fantastic. It blows me away that you're so young, yet you are so wise, especially from a mental point of view. But I'll just finish with this one question, and it's almost like a crystal ball question. If there was one mental skill that you recognize you have now, but you think at the end of your career it will be your superpower, what would be that one mental skill, do you think?
Wow, that was a good question to finish off on.
Tough one. I get the impression it might be something along the lines of just seeing how far you can go. Like, I get the distinct impression you have so much more in you, and you're just enjoying the fact that you can delve into that and find how far you can push yourself.
Yes, I think you bing, 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 ding, ding, ding. You got it. I was thinking that, yeah. I think I enjoy seeing the progress that I make. And I just love to look back on where I was and just think, wow, I've made all that progression in just such a short amount of time. And I can't wait to see how far I'm actually able to go. And yeah, and just taking all the positives out of everything, enjoying the process. Because if I don't enjoy the process, then there's no point of doing it, since it's just something that's downgrading me. So always enjoying the process, just looking forward to what I can achieve. And yeah, I think you explained it so much better than I did. But
Well, do you know what? I think the reason why I was able to explain it so well is because you have been fantastic as a guest on the show today, and that you have expressed yourself beautifully and made it crystal clear. I think you've made it crystal clear what the attitude and mental side of things for a young athlete should be. So it's been an absolute pleasure, Cienna. One of the ideas about this podcast is that in a year or two, we touch base again and we have another chat and we see how things are going. And I can imagine with your potential, the next conversation is going to be an absolute blinder as well. It'll be amazing. So thank you very much for your time today on the show.
thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining Cienna Tinkler and myself, Dwayne Nesta, on the Sporting Mindset Show. I hope today's conversation has given you something to think about, whether you're an athlete, a coach, or a parent. And one thing we know for certain is that mindset matters. So as you move through your week, maybe take a moment to reflect. What mindset are you bringing into your sport, your coaching, your parenting, or your everyday life? If you enjoyed this episode, follow or subscribe, share it with someone who'd benefit from the conversation, and continue being part of a community that values growth, learning, and high performance done the right way. I'm Dwayne Nesta, and this has been the Sporting Mindset Show.